All right, so my live stream cut out twice. I need to move on with my day, but I wanted to just make sure that people who follow me know about different things. So this is just kind of a brief, God help me, let it be a brief thing, keeping my friends updated on what's going on, how you can support the channel. I wanted to go ahead and make sure everybody knows about the content that we've most recently put out and how it's connected to the larger view of what I'm trying to do. So Matt Sickle and I did a very decent conversation. I've heard from a number of people saying that you would like us to finish that conversation. We ran out of time. There's still several Wesleyan distinctives that we have yet to cover. So I'm gonna contact him and see if he'd be interested in doing that. Also, I'm kind of surprised at the number of people who were interested in the piece I did on house churches. So I thought there would be clearly more interest in just going non-denominational and staying in your church body. I'm kind of surprised at how many people are interested at house churches. So if you have individual people that you're interested in me talking to more about that, if you have resources that you think it would be interesting to consult, I'm not, as I was figuring out today in the comments with some people, I'm not against doing church in a house as long as you're actually doing church. So, does that make sense? Like, there are several things that the church is here to do, and if you're only doing some of them, then it's not church. It's just it's the metaphor I came up with in my head the other day was like it's like if you uh, go to the gym and you never do any core exercises, like you're always working on your arms and your legs, but the core holding it all together is just flabby. The core is the most important muscle group to exercise. It's what holds everything together. So similarly, those things that you avoid by doing house church are actually super core and key to doing to doing church, like compromise and negotiation within the body, like figuring out how to spend your money, figuring out how the authority structure needs to work, and practicing submission. So these things, you don't have to do in a smaller group where you can just leave and go to another small group. First Corinthians is all about this, by the way, as leaders of different small churches arguing with each other and wanting to turn into factions. And no, you need to all be united. And it's great if you can all be in one building, but I do think it's good to break up into house churches, smaller, more intimate groups, but you need to have a shared authority structure. You need to have a shared budget. You need to be connected with other churches in common doctrine. Um, that just seems pretty clear from reading the Bible. So anyway, tomorrow I'm releasing an interview I did with Lonnie Brooks, who is a centrist in the United Methodist Church, who's been plugged in at the General Conference level for a couple decades. Really interesting conversation. Very good perspective to have. So make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. And then I've got a number of really interesting interviews coming up that would be good for you to pay attention to if you so choose. So just want to make sure everybody knows that right now, the Mid-South Conference, is that right? No, that's not the one going on today. The Alabama Emerald Coast Conference is going on. They're calling it a celebration launch. And then tomorrow, Florida GMC Conference is meeting, and then it's the following week that the Mid-South Conference is getting together. Things I'm noticing about these gatherings, they are live streaming, but only like the exciting stuff, only the worship. They're not doing the workshops. They're not doing the business sessions. I don't know what the logic there is, but I think the people coordinating things need to reconsider their approach. The way that the GMC does business is really important. And so you want to be able to show that, hey, we're not the UMC 2.0. If you're keeping that stuff hidden, then that engenders suspicion. This is one of the things that the United Methodist Church taught us. So, we need to be doing everything out in the open. The conference workbooks are hard to get a hold of. We need to be making sure that everything is available to anyone who wants to know what's going on, keep their eye on things. What else did I have for us? I had us looking at the schedule for the conference here. So you can go to their website, AECGMC, to see what they're up to. Looks like they're having a celebration worship service starting in a little bit. They're in the middle of dinner right now. Um, I wanted to just turn everybody. Okay, there was a good article put out by Lambrecht, Tom Lambrecht. Apparently, he and Rob Renfro were at this meeting in Nairobi, where they were able to get boots on the ground and meet a lot of African leadership. There, there's a lot going on in Africa. There's more going on in Africa than anyone could possibly know about. Even Africans don't know everything going on because the continent of Africa is much bigger than the continent of North America. My impression is it's it's the biggest continent, right? It's huge. So anyway, there are a lot of different people groups. They're very spread out. But Lambrecht has a really fantastic article I was going to read through today. Um, and then was there any? I was just going to plug a lot of different resources. So Firebrand, if you, we've read from them a couple of times, but they have a series of articles that they've put out over the last couple of weeks. And then the IRD is always a good resource, and they had a really good bit on Africa this week. And then Good News had an article. Man, I wanted to read this. Tom Lambrecht is such an asset to the movement. I really appreciate his writing, even if I'm going to tell him this to his face someday. But I think he looks kind of like a Bond villain. But looks can be deceiving. I mean, I've been reading the guy for years. I think he's fantastic. So, as always, I want to plug my buddy Ed Rodarmel at Omnia Methodist. And then I feel like I had something at the end over here. Oh, I was just going to tell everybody to actually sign up for the mailing list on Good News. That's goodnewsmag.org. So they are sending out a Friday mailing at least. I think they have other. If you don't get their actual magazine, it's a fantastic magazine. I just have a hard time looking at things in print. So those were the main things I wanted to highlight this week. There were a lot of different. This was the written by the new WCA chair. What is his name? I didn't know him before all this. Scott Field, Reverend Dr. Scott Field. He explains the 3 reasons why it is that he's still on board with the WCA, why the WCA is still active. He uses a sports metaphor, which I think we can forgive people for. But for a lot of people, they think that a lot of this is wrapping up. Why continue to support the infrastructure? The answer is this stuff isn't wrapping up. There are a lot that are getting left behind. There needs to be good leadership in this transition period. There will be a day where the WCA no longer exists, but it's not anytime soon. There's going to continue to be fallout in the United Methodist Church, congregations that need to get out. So while that's going on, the WCA is going to be there to help congregations that cannot advocate for themselves. I don't know if there was much more that I felt like was important to say. I wanted to make sure everybody watched the interview I did. Well, actually, okay, I need to stop calling them interviews. I've gotten too much flack from people saying I talk too much, and that was the thing I wanted to talk about at the tail end of this. Well, and I think I will read something by my buddy Duncan. But the thing is, there are a lot of people that have a problem with my interview style because I talk too much, and my guests don't always get all the time to speak that some people would like. And the thing is, I'm not going to call them interviews from now on if I can help it. We're going to call them conversations. But the thing is, I am selfish, and I've only got these people for a short period of time, and I want to make sure that I understand them well and that they understand me and what I care about so that they in their positions of influence can have this annoying picture of me in the back of their head and advocate for things that I feel strongly about. So I'm not wanting to play a passive role and just document what's going on. I'm wanting to play an active role and actually facilitate conversations as they're going on. So that's why I talk so much. And then people who just think I'm a blowhard and like the sound of my own voice, I wish I could disabuse you of that notion. I obviously do like talking about meaningful things. I'm a pastor. Please forgive me. But if you're sensing ego in this, I don't know what to say to convince you that Sure, I have an ego, but that's not what I'm. I hope I'm not scratching my ego as I'm going through all this. I really do care about Methodism. I care about the Wesleyan movement. I want it to be healthy and robust. I want it to do powerful things in our country and our world. And so I'm trying to play an active role in that. And if this isn't what needs to happen, then I'll try and figure something out. Um, I've read a number of pieces recently that have just gotten me depressed, pessimistic about all the things aligned against us. And it's important to have a clear picture of the threat and what's not going well. It's also important to have a picture of what is going well. So a few weeks ago, Duncan wrote me, and he had a positive spin on some things happening in the culture around us, and so I just wanted to lift that up. Um, this is what he said. He said, for someone who looks at our culture and how Marxists have seemingly taken over almost every institution, I am one who's prone to despair also. I don't think we are winning by any stretch, but there have been several signs lately that many of our countrymen are absolutely sick of what is going on and that the tide may finally be turning. Jason Aldean was canceled and we made him number one, a guy who 10 days ago had 24 followers. Today has 3 of the top 10 songs on Apple Music, and he started his first major concert by reading from Psalm 37. He's talking about Oliver Anthony. The Bud Light brand has been destroyed, and Disney's last 7 films have lost many. 2 of the biggest movies of the year have been Sound of Freedom and Jesus Revolution. I think it's fair to say that there are hordes who are sick of what they're being fed and are looking for something else. And I think that's true. I think we just need to count the cost and understand that the days are evil and that most of the institutional forces have been co-opted. And this is something that guys I listen to talk about. The long march through the institutions was based on the awareness that the American population is not interested in what the far left is selling. Wokeism is toxic. It doesn't build anything. It's depressing, and yet they have effectively grabbed the reins of power in a number of different sectors. And so how can it be resisted? I'm not quite sure. I think just speaking the truth in love is the edict we've been given. The other thing I was going to spend some time on today was I have another friend who emails me regularly, and he's been watching the news as I have and seeing that media outlets are starting to stir anxiety around a new wave of COVID variants. And that has huge implications for the church. It's something I haven't talked a lot about because I don't want to be unnecessarily divisive, but it's something that we all need to be prepared for seriously. So if you haven't thought well through it, if you were just in shock the whole time and just trying to keep your head above water, then you need to go ahead and prepare and think through it. You need to have a robust theology, and you should just know where I'm at. When COVID came the first time, we never stopped worshiping here. We've always had an online option, and a lot more people leaned on that, but I'm not going to close the doors of my church. I'm not going to give permission to people to withdraw from intimate fellowship. And, if being with the church gets me killed, I've come to terms with that, whether it be from humans persecuting me or germs. I just think we have to be clear that the prerogative this side of heaven is intimacy in the name of Christ Jesus, that the church Christ gave us to build and maintain. Ecclesia, Greek means assembly, is non-negotiable. And to imagine that it can be attained through a screen is something I'm just not on board with. I know that I'm talking to you through a screen right now. I know that we're using the internet but I'm not trying to do church with you through a screen. I'm not telling you that this is worship. This is us thinking about things together, but you're not able to talk back to me. We're not able to breathe the same air. We're not able to shake each other's hands and hug. These are things necessary for the church to be the church. And if another crisis comes and the church responds as poorly as it did last time, it would just really be unfortunate. So anyway, I need to wrap this up and just upload it and be done for today. I appreciate all the support and love that I get. I love calling people for interviews and having them say, "Oh, I know who you are," and I'd love to help you out. I'm researching topics on Texas right now. I'm going to be reporting on Rio, Texas annual conference and the lawsuit going on there. And then I'm hopefully going to spread out to some of the other conferences, including the new Global Methodist conferences. I've been on the phone with people from the what do they call it? The Mid South, Mid Texas annual conference. So yeah, Mid South is a different one. So anyway, look forward to that, and I will put some more hopefully worth watching stuff up next week. Blessings to you all. Have a good weekend.